The Great Chocolate Disaster. Ethan Calloway firmly believed three things in life. 1. Coffee should be strong enough to emotionally support you. 2. Texting K should be classified as emotional violence. And 3. Chocolate Day was a scam created by candy companies and people in relationships. Unfortunately, this year, he had a girlfriend. And not just any girlfriend. He had Olivia Harper. Olivia loved Valentine's Week like Americans loved Black Friday, passionately, aggressively, and with absolutely no regard for financial stability. Ethan stared at his phone while standing in line at Brew Buzz Cafe in downtown Chicago. The morning snow created that romantic movie-like vibe that he personally hated because it made couples hold hands in public like they were auditioning for a toothpaste commercial. His phone buzzed. Olivia, heart. Happy Chocolate Day, babe. Ethan inhaled slowly. He typed, Happy Chocolate Day, then 3 chocolate emojis, then added a heart, then deleted 1 chocolate emoji because 3 felt financially irresponsible. Another text arrived instantly. Olivia, heart. I'm so excited to see what you got me this year. Ethan froze. This year? His brain ran a quick emergency system reboot. They had started dating 8 months ago. Last year, he had been single, which meant he had spent Chocolate Day eating discount clearance candy while watching conspiracy documentaries about birds being government drones. He swallowed. Hey, what can I get you? The barista snapped him back to reality. She had pink streaks in her hair and the tired eyes of someone who had witnessed too many Valentine proposals go wrong inside a coffee shop. Large iced Americano, extra espresso, and do you sell chocolate? She gave him a slow blink. Sir, this is a coffee shop. Right, obviously, that was a test. He grabbed his drink and walked outside, immediately slipping slightly on ice, which he recovered from with the grace of a baby giraffe. He opened Google and typed, Best chocolate gifts for girlfriend that make you look emotionally stable and financially successful. The search results exploded with heart-shaped boxes, imported Belgian chocolate, luxury artisan collections, and something called emotionally symbolic cocoa experiences, which cost $189 and came with a handwritten poem from a certified romance consultant. Ethan muttered, What even is a romance consultant? Do they major in feelings? His best friend Marcus called at the worst possible time, which was probably the perfect time. Yo, Marcus said, you sound like you're Googling something dangerous. Chocolate Day, Ethan whispered, like he was admitting to a crime. Marcus laughed so hard, Ethan had to pull the phone away from his ear. Oh man, you forgot, didn't you? I didn't forget. I strategically delayed preparation. Translation, you forgot. Ethan started walking toward the subway. Olivia loves this holiday, man. She posts countdowns. She made a Pinterest board called Chocolate Day Aesthetic. There are mood boards, Marcus. Mood boards. Marcus whistled. Ooh, you're cooked. Help me. All right, rule number 1, don't cheap out. Ethan glanced at the price tags and felt his soul leave his body. Define cheap. If the chocolate comes from a gas station next to windshield wiper fluid, it's cheap. Ethan opened another tab labeled Budget Chocolate Gifts and whispered, What if it's emotionally affordable? Marcus sighed. You need premium chocolate, something fancy, something that says you care. What if I personally eat the chocolate first to confirm quality? That's thoughtful. That's called theft. Ethan ended the call and stepped onto the subway, now fully committed to what he referred to as Operation Cocoa Redemption. 30 minutes later, Ethan stood in front of Le Choc Elegance, a luxury chocolate boutique that looked like it charged admission just to breathe inside. He hesitated before entering, noticing every customer inside looked like they owned at least 2 blazers and a retirement plan. He stepped inside anyway. Soft violin music played. The air smelled like melted happiness and financial regret. A sharply dressed employee approached him with a professional smile. Welcome to Le Choc Elegance. Are you searching for something special for someone special? Ethan nodded nervously. Yes, my girlfriend. She loves chocolate and also expectations. The employee nodded with the solemn respect of someone who had witnessed many doomed boyfriends. May I recommend our signature Amour Royale collection? Imported cacao from Ecuador, hand-painted truffles, and a personalized message scroll. Ethan smiled politely while staring at the price tag. $142. His brain screamed. Does it come with emotional support payments? The employee chuckled lightly, clearly trained to laugh at customer panic. Perhaps our classic romance box, only $89. Ethan felt that was somehow worse. He pretended to examine chocolates while calculating whether love was tax deductible. Then he noticed a smaller box labeled Sweet Beginnings Sampler, $39. His heart lit up like it had discovered a clearance section at Target. Yes, he said quickly. That one. Perfect. Romantic, economical, symbolic. The employee packaged it elegantly with ribbon, tissue paper, and what looked like unnecessary emotional pressure. As Ethan reached for his wallet, his phone buzzed again. Olivia, heart. Can't wait to show you what I got you. Ethan frowned. She got him chocolate? That felt unfair. He hadn't emotionally prepared to receive gifts. He was barely surviving giving them. He paid and walked outside feeling slightly proud of himself. That feeling lasted approximately 9 seconds, because as he stepped off the curb, he collided with a jogger, lost grip of the shopping bag, and watched in slow motion as the chocolate box flew through the air and landed directly into a snow slush puddle. Time stopped. The jogger shouted, "Sorry, man," and kept running like he had just emotionally destroyed someone and refused to face consequences. Ethan stared at the soggy bag. No. He picked it up carefully like it was handling a fallen soldier. The ribbon had absorbed dirty snow water. The corner of the box looked suspiciously damp. A single truffle shape had pressed through the packaging like it was trying to escape. He whispered, "This is a betrayal." He rushed into a nearby restroom inside a bookstore, placing the box on the counter like it was a patient on life support. He opened it slowly. Several truffles had shifted positions. One had cracked open, leaking caramel like it was crying. Ethan grabbed paper towels and attempted emergency chocolate surgery. Okay, nobody has to know. He gently repositioned truffles, wiped edges, and attempted to retie the ribbon, accidentally tying what looked like a decorative knot created by someone who had never seen ribbon before. After 10 minutes, the box looked passable if you didn't believe in quality control. He nodded at his reflection. You are a problem solver. His phone buzzed again. Olivia, heart. Meeting you at 6 tonight. Don't be late. Ethan checked the time. 5:10 p.m. His apartment was 30 minutes away. Olivia's favorite restaurant was 20 minutes from there, and he still needed to emotionally recover from chocolate trauma. He grabbed the box, sprinted out of the bookstore, and slipped again, this time catching himself by grabbing a display of romance novels, knocking down titles like Love Under Moonlight and Forever Yours, Maybe. He whispered, appropriate. By the time Ethan reached his apartment, he was sweating through his winter jacket. He placed the chocolate box on the kitchen counter carefully, like it might explode. His roommate, Jake, walked in eating cereal straight from the box. Why does that gift look like it survived a natural disaster? Jake asked. It didn't, Ethan said defensively. It survived urban precipitation. Jake leaned closer. Is that caramel leaking? It's expressive. Jake shook his head. Man, Olivia is intense about Valentine stuff. Didn't she cry last year because her ex got her supermarket chocolate? That's a rumor, Ethan said, immediately panicking. Jake shrugged. I mean, she said it during karaoke night. Ethan stared at the box like it had personally betrayed him. He checked his wallet, he checked his bank account, he checked his soul. There was no time, no money, no emotional stability left. He grabbed the box anyway. Love is about effort, Ethan whispered. Love is about receipts. At 5:58 p.m., Ethan arrived at Scarlet Fig, Olivia's favorite romantic restaurant, decorated with pink lights and couples holding hands like it was a competitive sport. Olivia waved excitedly from a corner booth. She wore a red sweater and her smile instantly made Ethan forget about snow puddles, caramel leaks, and financial collapse. He sat down, trying to hide the slightly damp chocolate box behind his coat. Happy Chocolate Day, she said, sliding a beautifully wrapped gift toward him. Ethan blinked. The wrapping paper sparkled. The ribbon formed an Instagram-worthy bow. The tag had hand-lettered calligraphy. He suddenly felt like he had brought a soggy potato. The floor chocolate incident. The restaurant remained silent for exactly 3 seconds. 3 long, judgment-filled, rom-com disaster movie seconds. Ethan stared at the chocolate carnage on the polished tile floor, like he had just witnessed the emotional collapse of his entire relationship. A cracked truffle rolled slowly toward a nearby couple's table, stopping dramatically next to a woman's high heel like it was asking for forgiveness. The waiter froze, still holding a tray of sparkling water, like time itself had paused for him to reconsider his career choices. I am so sorry, the waiter whispered. Ethan raised his head slowly, already accepting his fate as that guy who dropped chocolate on Valentine week. It's fine, Ethan said, in the tone of a man whose soul had quietly exited his body. Olivia, however, was wheezing with laughter. Not polite laughter, not romantic movie laughter. This was full, chaotic, uncontrollable, shoulder-shaking laughter that made nearby tables stare at her like she had just discovered oxygen for the first time. I can't, she gasped. You look like someone just told you chocolate was illegal. Ethan rubbed his forehead. I just emotionally prepared to apologize for that box for the next 3 years. The waiter quickly knelt down, attempting to clean the mess with napkins, which only smeared caramel into something that looked like modern abstract art titled Regret in cocoa form. Another waiter appeared with a mop, like this was not his first chocolate day battlefield. A nearby couple leaned slightly to the side, watching like it was live entertainment included with their reservation. Olivia finally calmed down, smiling at Ethan with warm eyes. You know what? She said. What? Ethan asked cautiously. This might be the funniest chocolate day I've ever had. Ethan blinked. That feels like emotional pity. No, she said, reaching across the table and squeezing his hand. It feels real. Ethan stared at her, surprised by the softness in her voice. Then Jake's words echoed in his brain. Love is about receipts. He sighed internally. The waiter stood up again. We'll replace the dessert course free of charge. Olivia smiled politely. That's really kind, thank you. Ethan leaned closer and whispered. Do they offer emotional damage refunds too? Olivia kicked him gently under the table. Dinner actually went surprisingly well. They joked about terrible Valentine traditions, people who posted relationship quotes like they were running motivational seminars, and Ethan's long-standing belief that chocolate fountains were just bacterial playgrounds disguised as romance. Halfway through dinner, Olivia leaned forward with curious eyes. Okay, serious question, she said. Ethan froze immediately. Serious questions during romantic dinners usually ended in therapy or engagement rings. Define serious, he replied cautiously. Why were you so stressed about the chocolate? Ethan hesitated. Because you love this holiday, and I didn't want to mess it up. Olivia tilted her head slightly. You know I don't need expensive gifts, right? Ethan raised an eyebrow. Your Pinterest board has categories named luxury cocoa romance and chocolate that feels like a marriage proposal. She groaned. That's aesthetic, Ethan. Pinterest is emotional fantasy land. I also have a board for beach houses, and I don't own sunscreen. Ethan laughed. I just wanted to make it special, he said. Olivia smiled warmly. You slipping on ice, performing chocolate emergency surgery in a bookstore, and surviving public dessert humiliation is very special. He blinked. How did you know about the bookstore? Because you smell like paper towels and panic. After dinner, they stepped outside into the snowy Chicago evening. Streetlights reflected off the snow like a romantic movie scene Ethan still refused to admit looked nice. Olivia grabbed his arm, leaning against him. So, she said casually, I actually have another surprise. Ethan's heart rate increased immediately. Is it emotionally safe? Probably not, she said cheerfully. She pulled out her phone and showed him a bright pink flyer. Downtown Chocolate Festival, Chocolate Day Special. Tasting, games, competitions, free samples. Ethan squinted. Define competitions. There's a couple's chocolate sculpting contest, she said excitedly. No, Ethan said instantly. There's also unlimited chocolate sampling. Continue, Ethan replied. She grinned. It's 3 blocks away. We can just stop by for fun. Ethan stared at her hopeful expression. He sighed dramatically. I love you. That means yes? That means I'm about to make terrible decisions for emotional reasons. The chocolate festival was chaos. The community hall had been transformed into what looked like Willy Wonka's extroverted cousin's birthday party. Pink balloons floated everywhere, chocolate fountains flowed like edible waterfalls. Couples walked around holding sample trays like they were training for Olympic-level sugar consumption. A DJ played romantic pop songs at a volume that suggested he personally hated quiet conversation. Ethan immediately grabbed 3 sample cups from the nearest table. This is survival, he said. Olivia laughed, pulling him toward a registration booth. A volunteer wearing a chocolate-themed apron beamed at them. Are you signing up for the couple's chocolate sculpting challenge? Ethan shook his head rapidly. We are signing up for spectating. Olivia smiled sweetly. We're signing up. The volunteer clapped excitedly and handed them a number badge labeled Team 27, Sweet Disaster. Ethan stared at it. That feels insulting and accurate. They were guided to a long table filled with melted chocolate, sculpting tools, decorative candies, edible glitter, and something labeled emotionally supportive marshmallow accessories. A judge explained the rules enthusiastically. You have 30 minutes to create a chocolate sculpture representing your love story. Ethan whispered. Our love story currently involves slippery sidewalks and public humiliation. Olivia nudged him. Be positive. He picked up a sculpting tool like he was about to perform surgery without a license. Okay, what represents us? Olivia thought for a moment. Ooh, we could make the coffee shop where we met. Ethan nodded. That's romantic and structurally impossible with melted chocolate. They started anyway. Olivia carefully shaped a tiny building while Ethan attempted to mold what he claimed was a coffee cup but looked like a melted traffic cone. Is that supposed to be abstract art? Olivia asked. It's symbolic, Ethan said defensively. It represents caffeine dependency. Across from them, another couple was creating a perfect heart-shaped sculpture with intricate roses and perfect symmetry, like they had secretly trained in chocolate architecture. Ethan whispered, They look like they file taxes early. Olivia giggled. Halfway through, Ethan accidentally leaned on the table, causing their chocolate building to collapse like a slow-motion tragedy. Olivia gasped dramatically. Our relationship is falling apart. Ethan grabbed marshmallows and stacked them quickly. Emergency structural support. They both burst into laughter as they rebuilt the sculpture using marshmallow pillars and candy cane beams, turning it into what looked like a cartoon version of a collapsing cafe. When time was called, they stepped back and admired their creation. It looked ridiculous, and adorable, and slightly concerning. The judges walked around, examining each sculpture carefully. One judge stopped at theirs and raised an eyebrow. What is the artistic message here? She asked. Olivia smiled proudly. It represents how relationships aren't perfect, but they're fun and strong in weird ways. Ethan added, also, marshmallows are emotionally reliable. The judge blinked slowly, then smiled. I like it. 15 minutes later, contestants gathered near the stage for results. Ethan nervously chewed a chocolate sample while Olivia squeezed his hand excitedly. And third place goes to Team 12. Polite applause. Second place goes to Team 19. More applause. Ethan leaned toward Olivia. If we somehow win, I'm moving to another country. And first place, for the most creative and fun sculpture, goes to... The judge paused dramatically. Team 27, Sweet Disaster. Olivia screamed happily. Ethan choked on chocolate. They walked onto the stage while the crowd clapped. The DJ played upbeat music that made Ethan feel like he was accepting an award for surviving emotional chaos. They were handed a giant gift basket filled with assorted premium chocolates, gift cards, and a golden ribbon trophy shaped like a cocoa bean. Olivia hugged Ethan tightly. This is the best chocolate day ever. Ethan smiled, finally relaxing. Maybe everything had worked out. Maybe the disaster had turned into something meaningful. Maybe... His phone buzzed. He glanced down. It was a message from
The mystery message. The music from the chocolate festival pulsed around Ethan like background noise inside a movie scene where the main character suddenly realizes life is about to get complicated. He stared at the message again. Ask her about last chocolate day. You deserve to know the truth. His brain immediately launched into worst-case scenario mode, the same mental department that once convinced him he had a serious illness after Googling a mild headache and discovering he might have ancient Viking fatigue syndrome. Olivia was still smiling, holding the giant chocolate gift basket like it was a trophy from the Olympics of romance. "Let's take a selfie," she said excitedly. Ethan forced a smile and leaned closer while she snapped photos, completely unaware that his internal emotional stability had just been replaced with a spinning loading symbol. "Perfect," Olivia said, reviewing the pictures. "I'm posting this." Ethan swallowed. "Posting where?" "Instagram, obviously." He nodded slowly, pretending to be calm while internally calculating how many strangers would now witness his face next to a basket of chocolate and emotional uncertainty. Olivia grabbed his hand. "Come on, let's look at the tasting booths." They walked past rows of chocolate displays, each offering samples that smelled like happiness mixed with dental bills. Olivia bounced from booth to booth, trying everything from chili chocolate to lavender cocoa truffles. Ethan followed, nodding mechanically, his mind replaying the message over and over. He checked the number again. Unknown. No profile picture. No previous messages. Classic mysterious drama setup. "Try this one," Olivia said, holding out a tiny chocolate cube. He ate it automatically. "What flavor is it?" she asked. "Anxiety," he replied. She laughed. "That's not a flavor." "Today it is." 10 minutes later, Olivia stopped at a booth selling hot chocolate topped with whipped cream shaped like hearts. "I'm getting two," she said happily. Ethan nodded, staring at his phone again. His thumb hovered over the message. He typed, "Who is this?" He waited. Nothing. He slipped his phone back into his pocket quickly as Olivia handed him a cup. They stood near a window overlooking snowy city streets while sipping hot chocolate. The warmth should have felt comforting, but Ethan's brain was now hosting a full investigation committee. Olivia leaned against him. "You're quiet." "I'm drinking thoughtfully," he said. She narrowed her eyes slightly. "You make that face when you're thinking about taxes or conspiracy theories." He laughed nervously. "Those are both stressful." She nudged him playfully, but Ethan noticed her studying him more closely now. Olivia was cheerful, expressive, and warm, but she also had sharp emotional instincts. She could detect mood changes like a human lie detector wearing cute sweaters. "You okay?" she asked gently. Ethan hesitated. This was the moment where romantic movie protagonists usually chose honesty or dramatic silence that caused 2 hours of unnecessary conflict. He chose panic deflection. "Yeah, totally fine. I just drank hot chocolate too fast and now my tongue is confused." She blinked. "Your tongue is confused?" "Temperature betrayal," he said confidently. She laughed again, but she noticed she still looked slightly suspicious. As they walked toward the exit, Ethan's phone buzzed again. His stomach dropped. He glanced quickly. Another message. "She isn't telling you everything. Meet me tomorrow, 7 p.m., Brew Buzz Cafe. If you care about her, you'll come." Ethan stopped walking. Olivia took 2 steps forward before realizing he had paused. "What happened?" she asked. He forced a casual expression. "Work email." She shrugged. "On chocolate day? That's rude." "Capitalism never rests," he replied weakly. They stepped outside into the snowy evening air. The festival lights glowed behind them like a happy memory Ethan could no longer emotionally access. Olivia spun playfully under a streetlight, holding the chocolate basket like she was starring in a holiday commercial. "Thank you for coming tonight," she said. "Of course," he replied, smiling. And he meant it. He loved being with her, which made the message feel heavier. "Hey," she said suddenly, "want to walk through Grant Park before heading home?" Ethan nodded automatically. The park was quieter, snow covering the pathways in soft white layers. The city skyline glowed in the distance, reflecting off frozen patches of the lake like scattered diamonds. They walked slowly, their breath visible in the cold air. Olivia rested her head on his shoulder. "You know, last chocolate day was kind of terrible for me." Ethan froze internally. The universe had apparently decided subtlety was unnecessary tonight. "Oh?" he said carefully. "Yeah," she said with a small shrug. "My ex, Brandon, forgot about it completely." Ethan nodded slowly, pretending this information was casual and not directly connected to a mysterious warning message. He showed up with grocery store chocolate at midnight, and it wasn't even chocolate. It was chocolate-covered raisins. Ethan gasped. "That's emotionally aggressive." "Right?" she laughed. "I hate raisins. It felt like he didn't even know me." Ethan studied her face carefully. She looked amused, not sad, like it was just an old memory she had already moved past. "So that's why I get excited about Valentine week now," she added. "It reminds me to celebrate good relationships." His chest tightened slightly. "That makes sense," he said quietly. They kept walking, snow crunching under their boots. Ethan debated asking directly. He rehearsed the question in his head. "Hey, did anything weird happen last chocolate day that involves anonymous warnings and possible emotional plot twists?" He decided that sounded insane. Instead, he said, "Do you ever talk to Brandon anymore?" Olivia shook her head immediately. "Nope, blocked him everywhere. He was dramatic." Ethan nodded. That felt reassuring. Except his phone buzzed again. He didn't want to check it. He checked it anyway. "She isn't telling you everything. Meet me tomorrow, 7 p.m., Brew Buzz Cafe. If you care about her, you'll come." Ethan stopped walking. Olivia took 2 steps forward before realizing he had paused. "What happened?" she asked. He forced a casual expression. "Work email." She shrugged. "On chocolate day? That's rude." "Capitalism never rests," he replied weakly. They stepped outside into the snowy evening air. The festival lights glowed behind them like a happy memory Ethan could no longer emotionally access. Olivia spun playfully under a streetlight, holding the chocolate basket like she was starring in a holiday commercial. "Thank you for coming tonight," she said. "Of course," he replied, smiling. And he meant it. He loved being with her, which made the message feel heavier. Hey, she said suddenly, want to walk through Grant Park before heading home? Ethan nodded automatically. The park was quieter, snow covering the pathways in soft white layers. The city skyline glowed in the distance, reflecting off frozen patches of the lake like scattered diamonds. They walked slowly, their breath visible in the cold air. Olivia rested her head on his shoulder. You know, last chocolate day was kind of terrible for me. Ethan froze internally. The universe had apparently decided subtlety was unnecessary tonight. Oh, he said carefully. Yeah, she said with a small shrug. My ex, Brandon, forgot about it completely. Ethan nodded slowly, pretending this information was casual and not directly connected to a mysterious warning message. He showed up with grocery store chocolate at midnight, and it wasn't even chocolate. It was chocolate-covered raisins. Ethan gasped. That's emotionally aggressive, right? She laughed. I hate raisins. It felt like he didn't even know me. Ethan studied her face carefully. She looked amused, not sad, like it was just an old memory she had already moved past. So that's why I get excited about Valentine week now, she added. It reminds me to celebrate good relationships. His chest tightened slightly. That makes sense, he said quietly. They kept walking, snow crunching under their boots. Ethan debated asking directly. He rehearsed the question in his head. Hey, did anything weird happen last chocolate day that involves anonymous warnings and possible emotional plot twists? He decided that sounded insane. Instead, he said, do you ever talk to Brandon anymore? Olivia shook her head immediately. Nope, blocked him everywhere. He was dramatic. Ethan nodded. That felt reassuring. Except his phone buzzed again. He didn't want to check it. He checked it anyway. She isn't telling you everything. Meet me tomorrow, 7 p.m., Brew Buzz Kese. If you care about her, you'll come. Ethan stopped walking. Olivia took 2 steps forward before realizing he had paused. What happened? She asked. He forced a casual expression. Work email. She shrugged. On chocolate day? That's rude. Capitalism never rests, he replied weakly. They stepped outside into the snowy evening air. The festival lights glowed behind them like a happy memory Ethan could no longer emotionally access. Olivia spun playfully under a streetlight, holding the chocolate basket like she was starring in a holiday commercial. Thank you for coming tonight, she said. Of course, he replied, smiling. And he meant it. He loved being with her, which made the message feel heavier. Hey, she said suddenly, want to walk through Grant Park before heading home? Ethan nodded automatically. The park was quieter, snow covering the pathways in soft white layers. The city skyline glowed in the distance, reflecting off frozen patches of the lake like scattered diamonds. They walked slowly, their breath visible in the cold air. Olivia rested her head on his shoulder. You know, last chocolate day was kind of terrible for me. Ethan froze internally. The universe had apparently decided subtlety was unnecessary tonight. Oh, he said carefully. Yeah, she said with a small shrug. My ex, Brandon, forgot about it
Brew Buzz Secrets. Ethan didn't sleep, not even a little. He spent the entire night doing what he called responsible emotional research, which was actually just scrolling through Olivia's old Instagram posts while eating leftover chocolate from the festival basket like it was stress medication. By 3:12 a.m., he had discovered 3 important things. Olivia had posted an alarming number of aesthetic coffee photos, she owned more sweaters than seemed statistically necessary for one human being, and there were exactly 0 suspicious posts from last chocolate day. That last discovery should have comforted him. Instead, it made the mysterious message feel louder. By 6:45 a.m., Ethan finally fell asleep for 23 minutes before his alarm exploded like a personal attack. The next day moved painfully slow. Work emails felt longer, meetings felt unnecessary. His boss asked him 3 times if he was paying attention, and Ethan responded, yes, while accidentally nodding at a stapler. By lunchtime, Marcus called again. All right, Marcus said, immediately. Update, are you spiraling yet? I am floating slightly above spiraling, Ethan admitted. He explained the new messages and the meeting plan. Marcus whistled. Man, that sounds like a Netflix documentary starting point. That's not comforting. Look, just be careful. Public place, don't accept chocolate from strangers. That's rule number 1 of modern survival. Ethan blinked. That feels oddly specific. I read it on Reddit. By 6:42 p.m., Ethan stood outside Brew Buzz Cafe, the same cafe where he had panicked about chocolate 24 hours ago. It now felt less like a cozy coffee shop and more like a location where emotional plot twists gathered. He checked his phone. No new messages. He stepped inside. The cafe was busy but calm, people typing on laptops, couples chatting softly, and the same pink-haired barista from yesterday working behind the counter. She recognized him immediately. Oh hey, she said. Chocolate crisis guy. That's my brand now, Ethan replied. What are you getting today? She asked. Something strong enough to help me survive poor life decisions. She nodded respectfully. Large dark roast. That's the I've made mistakes special. He paid and moved toward a corner table, scanning the room carefully. Every customer suddenly looked suspicious. A man reading a newspaper? Possible emotional villain. A woman typing aggressively on her laptop? Secret chocolate spy. A teenager drinking hot cocoa? Probably harmless but still emotionally unpredictable. Ethan sat down, checking the time again. 7:59 p.m. His heart thumped harder with each passing second. At exactly 7:02 p.m., someone sat across from him. Ethan looked up and blinked. Because it wasn't a mysterious older man. It wasn't a dramatic stranger wearing a trench coat. It was a girl who looked about 22, wearing a yellow hoodie and holding a chocolate muffin. She smiled awkwardly. Hi, Ethan, right? Yes, he said slowly. I'm Chloe, she said. He blinked again. Okay, this is not what I expected. Yeah, I get that a lot, she said, taking a bite of her muffin like she was about to discuss weekend plans instead of potential relationship secrets. You sent those messages? Ethan asked. She nodded. He stared at her for a long moment. Why? Chloe swallowed her muffin and leaned forward slightly.
Because Olivia won't tell you what happened last year. Ethan felt that cold twist in his stomach again. She already told me, he said carefully. Her ex forgot chocolate day. Olivia gave him a look that clearly translated to, oh honey, no. That's not the whole story, she said quietly. Ethan's fingers tightened around his coffee cup. Then what is? Chloe hesitated again. First, you need to promise you won't freak out. That is not a reassuring sentence. She sighed. Look, I'm not trying to ruin your relationship. I actually like Olivia. She's nice. She helped me through something really rough last year. Then why are you telling me this? Because she never told you why her relationship with Brandon actually ended. Ethan leaned back slightly, tension crawling into his shoulders. And you think I need to know that? Chloe nodded slowly. Yes. He exhaled slowly. Okay, he said. Tell me. Chloe glanced around the cafe, lowering her voice. Last chocolate day, Brandon didn't just forget the holiday. Ethan swallowed. He planned a huge surprise for Olivia. Expensive chocolates, dinner reservations, everything. Ethan blinked. That sounds like didn't sound bad. It wasn't. The bad part was he used someone else's credit card. Ethan frowned. What? My credit card, she said quietly. The words landed like a dropped glass. You're joking, Ethan said. I wish I was. Ethan stared at her for a long moment. Why would he have your credit card? Chloe sighed. Because Brandon and I were friends. He told me he needed help planning a surprise, said he'd pay me back in a few days. I trusted him. Ethan's jaw tightened. He never paid you back? He asked quietly. Chloe shook her head. He charged almost $2,000. Chocolates, decorations, hotel reservations, everything. Ethan's coffee suddenly tasted like emotional stress. What happened then? He asked quietly. Chloe looked down at her muffin wrapper, twisting it slowly. Olivia found out the surprise was paid for with stolen money, she said. She broke up with him immediately. She helped me report it. She even helped me deal with the credit company. Ethan blinked. That sounds like Olivia, he said softly. She protected me. She handled everything. She never even told her friends what Brandon did. Then why didn't she tell me? Ethan asked. Chloe hesitated again. Because Brandon blamed her for ruining his life. He told people she overreacted, spread rumors. It was messy. Ethan felt anger flicker under his ribs. That guy sounds like a walking red flag. He is, Chloe said, and recently he's been asking about her again. Ethan sat up straighter. What do you mean? Chloe pulled out her phone, showing him a screenshot. It was a social media message from someone named Brandon. Is Olivia seeing someone new? I heard she's celebrating chocolate day again. Ethan's chest tightened. He messaged you? Ethan asked, and a few other people? He's been weirdly interested this week. Ethan rubbed his temples slowly. So why tell me now? Chloe looked directly at him. Because Brandon doesn't handle rejection well, and if he's paying attention again, Olivia might not want to worry you. She always tries to handle things herself. Ethan stared at the table, emotions mixing into something complicated. Relief, confusion, concern. She's not hiding something bad, Chloe added quickly. She just hates dragging new relationships into old drama. He nodded slowly. That sounds painfully accurate. Chloe stood up and grabbed her muffin. I just thought you deserved context, she said gently. You seem like a good guy. He gave a small, grateful smile. Thank you for telling me. She nodded and walked toward the exit. Ethan sat there for several seconds, processing everything. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced down. A new message. From Olivia. Hey, are you free tomorrow night? I have a surprise planned. Ethan smiled slightly. Then another message appeared, from an unknown number. He opened it slowly, and his stomach dropped instantly. It was a photo, a picture of Olivia leaving her apartment building, taken from across the street, like someone had secretly photographed her. Below the image was one sentence. Chocolate day isn't over yet. Ethan's hands tightened around his phone as fear crept into his chest for the first time, and suddenly, this didn't feel like old relationship drama anymore.
The Watcher in the Snow. Ethan stared at the photo until his coffee went completely cold. The image showed Olivia stepping out of her apartment building, bundled in her red scarf, her breath visible in the winter air. It looked normal, except for one terrifying detail. The angle. It had clearly been taken from across the street, slightly zoomed in, cropped like someone had hidden behind a parked car or a streetlight. Ethan's stomach twisted. Below the photo, the message glowed like a warning sign. Chocolate day isn't over yet. He immediately stood up, knocking his chair back slightly. Several cafe customers glanced at him, but he barely noticed. His brain raced through options. Call Olivia? Ignore the message? Pretend this was a weird prank? None of those felt right. He quickly typed back, "Who is this?" The typing bubble appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Ethan's pulse pounded in his ears. Finally, the reply came. Someone who knows Brandon better than you do. Ethan's jaw tightened. If this is Brandon, stay away from her. A pause, then another message. It's already too late for that. Ethan grabbed his jacket and rushed outside Brewbuzz Cafe without finishing his coffee or acknowledging the barista who shouted, "Sir, you forgot your emotional support beverage." Snow fell harder now, coating sidewalks in slippery white layers. Ethan walked quickly, pulling out his phone and calling Olivia. It rang twice. "Hey, you okay?" she answered cheerfully. He almost sighed in relief just hearing her voice. Yeah, he said quickly. "Where are you right now?" "At home," she said. "Why?" He exhaled slowly. "Just checking." She paused. "That sounded suspiciously like you're checking if I'm alive." "Relax," he said nervously. "I just missed you." She laughed softly. "You're weirdly sweet when you're stressed. Is anyone with you?" he asked carefully. "No," she said. "Why would someone be here?" "No reason," he replied quickly. "Just random curiosity." She hummed thoughtfully. "Ethan, yeah? You're doing that thing again."
What thing? The I'm hiding panic under casual conversation thing. He winced slightly. I'm fine, he said. There was a pause on the line. Then Olivia spoke softer. You know you can tell me if something's wrong, right? Ethan stared at the snowy street, struggling. He wanted to tell her, but Chloe's words echoed in his mind. She hates dragging new relationships into old drama. He sighed. I know, he said quietly. Okay, Olivia replied gently. So tomorrow's surprise is still happening. No work excuses allowed. He forced a small smile. Wouldn't miss it. Good, she said warmly. And Ethan? Yeah? Thanks for making chocolate day fun, even the messy parts. He swallowed. Anytime, he said softly. They hung up. Immediately, Ethan stared at the photo again. His instincts screamed that this wasn't a prank. This felt targeted. He called Marcus next. Marcus answered instantly. If this is about chocolate again, I swear. Someone sent me a photo of Olivia leaving her apartment, Ethan said quickly. Silence. Excuse me? Marcus said. Ethan explained everything, including Chloe, Brandon, and the new messages. Marcus exhaled slowly. Okay, that's not normal jealous ex behavior. That's creepy Netflix crime documentary behavior. I know, Ethan said. You should tell Olivia, Marcus said immediately. I'm thinking about it, Ethan admitted. Thinking? Marcus repeated. Bro, someone is photographing your girlfriend like she's part of a surveillance project. I just want to understand what's going on first. Marcus sighed. Fine, but if anything feels even slightly dangerous, you tell her immediately, and maybe stay with her tomorrow. Ethan nodded. Yeah. Also, Marcus added, document everything. Screenshots, messages, timestamps. Future detective you will thank present panic you. Later that evening, Ethan sat in his apartment scrolling through Olivia's social media, not stalking, just performing protective digital observation. He noticed something strange. Her latest chocolate festival photo had already gained dozens of likes and comments. Most were normal, friends, coworkers, people asking where the festival was. But one comment caught his eye, from an account with no profile picture. Enjoy it while it lasts. Ethan's chest tightened. He clicked the profile. Private account, 0 posts. Username, CocoTruth88. His stomach dropped. Dude, Jake said from the couch, munching popcorn while watching a reality dating show. You look like you just discovered your reflection is plotting against you. Ethan showed him the comment. Jake squinted. That is aggressively ominous, right? Ethan said. Okay, new rule. You are not ignoring this anymore. That's stalking energy. Ethan nodded slowly. I'm going to meet Olivia tomorrow and stay with her all evening. If anything weird happens, I'm telling her everything. Jake pointed dramatically. Good. That's healthy adult decision-making. I'm proud and slightly surprised. The next afternoon, Ethan arrived outside Olivia's apartment building early. Snow had stopped, leaving the city covered in clean white layers reflecting pale winter sunlight. He leaned against his car, scanning the street like someone expecting trouble to appear wearing suspicious sunglasses and emotional baggage. 5 minutes later, Olivia stepped out. She wore a cream-colored coat, her hair tucked under a knitted hat, smiling as soon as she spotted him. His chest instantly loosened. He walked towards her, pulling her into a hug. Wow, she said, laughing softly. Someone's affectionate today. Cold weather, he said, squeezing her slightly tighter than usual. She pulled back, studying his face. You okay? She asked. He nodded. Yeah. She narrowed her eyes but didn't push. Ready for your surprise? She asked excitedly. Define surprise, he said mischievously. She grinned mischievously. You'll see. They drove downtown, Olivia giving vague directions while Ethan tried to focus on driving instead of checking every passing car like he was in a spy movie. They stopped in front of a cozy-looking community art studio decorated with pink banners and fairy lights. A sign outside read, Couples Chocolate Painting Workshop, Valentine's Special. Ethan blinked. You're kidding. Nope, she said happily. You love art. I once drew a stick figure that looked emotionally unstable. Perfect, she said, dragging him inside. The studio smelled like cocoa powder and acrylic paint. Couples sat at easels, each with chocolate-infused paint palettes and blank canvases. An instructor greeted them enthusiastically. Welcome, tonight you'll paint portraits of each other using edible chocolate paints. Ethan whispered. This feels legally questionable. Olivia laughed, guiding him to their seats. They sat across from each other, brushes in hand. Okay, Olivia said happily. Paint me like one of your emotionally confused girlfriends. Ethan snorted. They started painting, immediately realizing neither possessed artistic talent. Olivia's portrait of Ethan looked like a thoughtful potato wearing glasses. Ethan's portrait of Olivia somehow resembled a melted snowman with eyelashes. They both burst into laughter. Halfway through, Olivia reached across the table and dabbed chocolate paint on his cheek. He gasped dramatically. You have declared artistic war! He returned the favor, gently streaking chocolate across her nose. She laughed so hard she almost knocked over her paint palette. For the first time in 2 days, Ethan felt relaxed. Maybe he had overreacted. Maybe this was just random internet trolling. Maybe... His phone buzzed in his pocket. He ignored it. Olivia smiled at him, cheeks flushed from laughing. You're happy, right? She asked softly. Yeah, very. His phone buzzed again, and again, and again. Olivia raised an eyebrow. Popular today? He hesitated, then slowly pulled out his phone. 3 new messages, all from the unknown number. He opened them. The first was another photo, Olivia sitting inside the art studio, taken through the front window. The second message read, cute painting date. His hands started shaking. He opened the final message, and his blood ran cold. Turn around. Ethan's head snapped toward the studio entrance, and just outside the glass door, watching them, was a tall man in a dark jacket staring directly at Olivia with an expression that made Ethan's chest tighten instantly. Ethan whispered under his breath, under Brandon.
The ex who wouldn't melt. Ethan's heart slammed against his ribs like it was trying to escape the situation entirely. Outside the glass door of the art studio, the man stood still, watching. Tall, dark jacket, hands shoved into his pockets, snow lightly dusting his shoulders like he had been standing there for a while. Ethan recognized him instantly from old photos he had seen while doing his midnight, responsible emotional research. Brandon. Olivia was still laughing softly, wiping chocolate paint off her brush, completely unaware that her past had just walked into her present like an unwanted sequel nobody asked for. Ethan? She said, noticing his sudden silence. He quickly locked his phone screen. Yeah? He said, forcing calm into his voice. You just froze mid-blink. That's usually concerning. He swallowed, glancing toward the door again. Brandon hadn't moved. He was just staring. Ethan leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. Olivia, don't panic, okay? She blinked. That sentence has literally never made anyone calm down. He exhaled slowly. Brandon is outside. Her smile disappeared instantly. Not dramatically, not loudly, just gone. She turned slowly toward the studio entrance. The moment her eyes landed on him, her entire posture stiffened like someone had pressed pause on her personality. Oh, she whispered. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Olivia calmly placed her paintbrush down. Well, she said quietly, that's unfortunate. Ethan stared at her, surprised by how controlled her voice sounded. You okay? He asked. She nodded slowly, though her fingers tightened slightly around the edge of the table. I just didn't expect him to find me here. Ethan's protective instincts activated immediately, like a superhero power he didn't apply for. You want to leave? He asked. She hesitated, then nodded once. Yeah. They stood up, grabbing their coats while trying not to draw attention from the other couples who were busy turning chocolate paint into artistic crimes. As they approached the door, Brandon stepped aside slightly, allowing them to exit, but not moving far enough to feel polite. Up close, Ethan noticed Brandon looked exactly like the type of guy who thought sunglasses indoors made him mysterious instead of suspicious. Olivia, Brandon said casually, like he was greeting an old friend at a grocery store, instead of stalking her through a chocolate painting workshop. Brandon, she replied calmly. Ethan stood slightly in front of her without even realizing it. Brandon smirked slightly. You always like dramatic holiday activities. Olivia crossed her arms. Why are you here? Relax, he said, raising his hands slightly. I just wanted to talk. You've been texting my boyfriend, she said flatly. Ethan blinked. Direct, efficient, emotionally terrifying. Brandon's eyes flicked toward Ethan for the first time. You must be Ethan, he said. That would be me, Ethan replied, trying to sound confident and not like someone currently reconsidering every life choice that led to this sidewalk confrontation. Brandon chuckled softly. Nice to finally meet the replacement. Olivia stepped forward immediately. He's not a replacement. He's an upgrade. Ethan felt his internal emotional confidence level increase by at least 700%. Brandon's smirk faded slightly. Cute, still sarcastic. What do you want? Olivia asked. He shrugged. Closure. That is never a good sign. Olivia ignored him, keeping her eyes locked on Brandon. You got closure when you committed credit card fraud, she said calmly. Brandon's jaw tightened. You always exaggerate, he replied. You stole from my friend and then blamed me for reporting it. Because you humiliated me, he snapped. You humiliated yourself, she shot back. Several pedestrians slowed slightly, sensing the emotional drama energy radiating from the sidewalk. Brandon ran a hand through his hair, exhaling loudly. Look, I made mistakes, he said. I just wanted to show you I could give you something special. With stolen money, she said. I was going to pay it back. You didn't, she replied. Silence stretched between them. Ethan shifted slightly closer to Olivia, his presence quiet but steady. Brandon glanced at him again. You really think she told you everything? He asked suddenly. Ethan's chest tightened. That's enough, Olivia said sharply. No, he deserves to know. Ethan felt Olivia's hand grab his sleeve slightly, like she was trying to stop something before it started. What does he deserve to know? Ethan asked carefully. Olivia shook her head quickly. Ethan, don't. Last chocolate day was supposed to be when I proposed. Olivia froze. Ethan blinked. Proposed? He repeated. Brandon nodded, watching Ethan's reaction like someone enjoying dramatic tension. I had the ring, planned the dinner, the hotel, everything. Ethan felt his stomach drop slightly. And she destroyed it, Brandon added, looking at Olivia. Olivia's expression hardened. I stopped you from trapping me in a relationship built on lies, she said quietly. Brandon laughed bitterly. You were going to say yes. No, she instantly said. You told me you loved me. I did, before you showed me who you really were. Brandon's face darkened. You always run when things get complicated. Olivia stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. No, I leave when things become dishonest. The words hung in the cold air like ice. Brandon stared at her, then slowly turned toward Ethan. You think she told you everything, he said quietly. She'll leave you too, he said quietly. She leaves when life stops being perfect. Ethan met his gaze evenly. Good thing I'm extremely imperfect. Olivia glanced at him, surprised, then smiled slightly. Brandon scoffed. You think she told you why she never celebrates big surprises anymore? Olivia's smile disappeared again. Stop, she said firmly. Brandon ignored her. She's terrified of commitments that feel too permanent because she's scared she'll pick the wrong person again. Ethan felt the tension spike. Olivia's hand tightened around his sleeve. That's enough, she said sharply. You don't get to psychoanalyze me on a public sidewalk. Brandon stepped closer. I'm just telling him the truth.
Olivia's eyes flashed with anger. No, you're trying to ruin something good because you can't accept that I moved on. For a moment, Brandon looked like he might argue again. Instead, he sighed heavily. I deserve to know, he said to Ethan quietly. She broke my heart. Ethan nodded slowly. And you committed a crime, Ethan replied, calmly. Brandon blinked. Seems like we both had bad days. A nearby pedestrian snorted, quickly pretending to cough. Brandon glared at Ethan. You think you're funny. I cope through sarcasm, Ethan replied. Brandon shook his head, stepping back. Enjoy chocolate day, he said coldly. It doesn't last forever. He turned and walked down the sidewalk, disappearing into the crowd as snow started falling again. Olivia stood still, staring at the ground. Ethan turned toward her carefully. Hey, he said softly. She exhaled slowly, rubbing her forehead. I'm so sorry, she whispered. For what? He asked. For him, for this, for not telling you everything earlier. Ethan hesitated, then gently took her hands. You protected your friend. You made a hard decision. That doesn't make you a villain. She looked up at him, eyes slightly glassy. I really like you, she said softly. I really like you too. They stood there quietly while snow drifted around them, the city humming softly in the background. After a moment, Olivia pulled back. Can we go somewhere warm? She asked. Absolutely, he said. They turned toward his car. Neither of them noticed. Across the street, partially hidden behind a parked delivery van, someone watching them, holding a phone and taking another photo.
The sweet trap. Snow drifted lazily across the Chicago streets as Ethan drove, his hands gripping the steering wheel tighter than usual. Olivia sat beside him, staring out the window, unusually quiet. The glow from passing streetlights reflected across her face, and for the first time since he'd met her, she looked emotionally exhausted. Hot chocolate? Ethan asked gently. She blinked, pulled from her thoughts. That sounds dangerously comforting. Perfect, that's my specialty. Emotional support beverages and poor life decisions. She smiled faintly. He pulled into a small, cozy cafe near the lake, one of those quiet neighborhood places that smelled like cinnamon and had exactly 3 customers at all times, no matter what hour it was. They stepped inside, snow melting from their coats as warm air wrapped around them like a soft blanket. A barista waved lazily from behind the counter. 2 hot chocolates, Ethan ordered. Marshmallows? The barista asked. Olivia sighed dramatically. Yes, if I'm emotionally spiraling, I want marshmallow support. They sat near the window, watching snowflakes fall outside under dim streetlights. Neither spoke for a moment. The silence wasn't awkward, just heavy with everything that had happened in the last hour. I hate that he found us, Olivia said finally. Yeah, that was aggressively uninvited. She stirred her drink slowly. I thought blocking him everywhere would be enough. I didn't think he'd track me down like that. Ethan hesitated. He debated telling her about the photos, the messages, the creepy username. Every instinct told him to protect her, but also not overwhelm her while she was already shaken. He took a breath. Olivia, there's something I need to tell you. She looked up immediately. Okay. He pulled out his phone and showed her the messages. All of them. The anonymous texts, the photo of her leaving her apartment, the message from earlier that said, turn around. Olivia's face slowly drained of color as she scrolled through the screen. He sent these to you? She asked quietly. I think so, or someone connected to him. She stared at the last message, her fingers trembling slightly. I thought he was just trying to talk. I didn't think he was watching. Ethan reached across the table, gently taking her hand. You're not dealing with this alone, he said firmly. She squeezed his hand tightly. Thank you for telling me, she said softly. He nodded. I should have told you earlier, he admitted. I just didn't want to scare you. She gave a small, sad smile. Honestly, I'm glad you did. Her phone buzzed suddenly on the table. They both jumped slightly. Olivia glanced down. Unknown number. She swallowed and opened it slowly. It was a text. You deserve better surprises than him. Olivia's hands froze. Ethan felt anger instantly spark. Okay, that's it. We're documenting everything and going to the police if this continues. Olivia nodded quickly, fear mixing with determination in her eyes. Before she could respond, her phone buzzed again. Another message. A photo. They both stared. It showed them sitting inside the cafe, taken from outside the window, seconds ago. Olivia gasped, turning toward the glass. Outside, snow covered the sidewalk, cars passed slowly, a couple walked their dog. Everything looked normal. Too normal. Olivia? She whispered, panic creeping into her voice. Ethan stood instantly, scanning the street, his pulse racing. For a moment, he saw nothing unusual. Then, across the street, a dark SUV idled near the curb, its windows tinted, its headlights off. And as Ethan stared at it, the engine started. The SUV pulled slowly into traffic and disappeared around the corner. Did you see that? Olivia asked, standing beside him. Yeah, he said quietly. Her breathing quickened slightly. I don't feel safe, she whispered. Ethan turned toward her, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. You're safe, he said firmly. She nodded, but you could see the fear in her eyes. 10 minutes later, they stepped back outside, deciding it was better to leave the cafe rather than sit in a place someone had clearly been watching. Snow crunched under their boots as they walked toward Ethan's car. Halfway across the parking lot, Olivia suddenly stopped. What? Ethan asked. She pointed toward Ethan's windshield. A small pink box sat under his wiper. Ethan's stomach dropped instantly. They approached slowly.
The box was wrapped in shiny Valentine paper, tied with a gold ribbon, and shaped exactly like a fancy chocolate gift box. Olivia covered her mouth slightly. Ethan picked up the note carefully and opened it. His chest tightened as he read the message out loud. Chocolate day isn't complete without a sweet surprise. Enjoy them before things turn bitter. Olivia grabbed his arm, fear flashing across her face. Ethan, throw them away. Already emotionally planning that, he said. He closed the box quickly, tossing it into a nearby trash bin with the enthusiasm of someone rejecting both chocolate and psychological manipulation. They stood there silently for a moment. Snow continued falling softly around them. Olivia leaned against him, her voice barely above a whisper. He's escalating, she said. Ethan nodded. Yeah. She looked up at him, eyes filled with worry. What if he doesn't stop? Ethan hesitated. Then he said the only honest thing he could. Then we make him stop. They got into the car, doors locking automatically as Ethan started the engine. Olivia reached over, holding his hand tightly. I'm scared, she admitted quietly. He squeezed her hand back. Me too. And for a moment, neither spoke, just sat there, listening to the heater hum softly against the cold winter night. Across the parking lot, hidden behind a row of snow-covered cars, a figure stood watching them, phone raised, camera recording, and as Ethan's car pulled out of the lot, the figure slowly typed one final message. Ethan's phone buzzed on the dashboard. He glanced down quickly. His blood ran cold as he read it. You should have opened the chocolate.
The chocolate heist goes public. By 8:12 a.m. on Chocolate Day, Oliver Grant had already received 12 angry emails, 3 confused texts, 1 passive-aggressive Slack message, and a voicemail from his mother asking why she saw him trending on TikTok next to a dancing raccoon wearing a sombrero. He sat frozen at his kitchen table, staring at his phone like it personally betrayed him. Across from him, Mia sipped her iced coffee with the calmness of someone watching a train derail from a safe distance. I told you, she said casually, scrolling through her phone. Never trust a man named Carl who owns a fog machine. Oliver groaned and slid his phone across the table. Look at this. Someone uploaded security footage from the hotel lobby last night. Mia leaned forward and pressed play. The video showed Oliver, covered in chocolate smears, dramatically sliding across the marble floor while clutching a massive heart-shaped chocolate box like it contained the nuclear launch codes. Behind him, a hotel employee chased him while shouting something that looked like, "Sir, that is not yours!" Mia burst out laughing so hard she nearly spilled her drink. Okay, she gasped between laughs, you have to admit, that slide was athletic. I tripped, Oliver protested. Sure, and the Titanic parked. Oliver buried his face in his hands. The truth was worse than the video. The box he stole wasn't just random chocolate. It was the grand prize display chocolate for the hotel's Valentine's Gala, handmade by a famous chocolatier flown in from Switzerland, valued at roughly $4,000. Oliver only found out when he woke up to 37 notifications and a news headline that read, "Local man accidentally steals luxury chocolate sculpture during romantic panic." Why does it say romantic panic? Oliver muttered. Mia shrugged. Honestly, that feels accurate. Meanwhile, inside Oliver's apartment kitchen, the stolen chocolate box sat on the counter like an extremely delicious crime. Except, it was melting. Apparently, luxury Swiss chocolate was not designed to survive inside an overheated New York apartment where the thermostat was stuck on Florida in July. Oliver stared in horror as a decorative chocolate swan slowly leaned sideways like it was giving up on life. Oh no, he whispered. Mia walked over and inspected it. Well, she said thoughtfully, poking the swan's wing, on the bright side, if you eat the evidence, technically it becomes harder to prove. Oliver stared at her. Are you suggesting we destroy evidence? I'm suggesting we respect the chocolate's sacrifice. Before Oliver could respond, his phone rang. The ID read, unknown number, possibly legal trouble. He answered cautiously. Hello? Is this Mr. Oliver Grant? A very serious voice asked. Define is, Oliver replied. This is Patricia from the Grand Regency Hotel. Oliver swallowed. I believe, Patricia continued calmly, you are currently in possession of our centerpiece chocolate display valued at several $1,000s. Oliver glanced at Mia, who was now silently mouthing, run. Possession is a strong word. I prefer temporary chocolate custody. There was a long pause. Mr. Grant, Patricia said, our security footage shows you hugging the display and whispering, you complete me. Mia collapsed onto the couch, laughing. Oliver closed his eyes. That could have been taken out of context. Please return the chocolate immediately, Patricia said, or we will be forced to escalate this situation. The call ended. Oliver slowly lowered the phone. Well, Mia said, at least she didn't sound mad. She sounded like she has access to lawyers who drink black coffee and don't blink. At 9:30 a.m., Oliver and Mia loaded the partially melting chocolate sculpture into the back seat of Oliver's car. It was wrapped in 3 towels, a bathrobe, and a yoga mat for stability. The Swan had lost its head. Neither of them mentioned it. As Oliver drove toward the hotel, he noticed people staring at his car through the windows. One guy even pointed and whispered to his friend. Oh my God, Oliver said. I'm becoming the chocolate bandit. You're not a bandit, Mia said reassuringly. You're more like a confused raccoon. When they arrived at the hotel, things immediately escalated. Standing outside the entrance was a small crowd, and a news reporter, and, inexplicably, a man in a giant Hershey Kiss costume handing out flyers. Oliver froze behind the steering wheel. "Why is there media?" he whispered. Mia checked her phone. "Oh," she said casually, "you're trending #4 on Twitter under #ChocolateCrime." Oliver made a noise that sounded like a balloon losing air. "I can't go out there. They'll ask questions. I don't have answers. I barely have emotional stability." Mia thought for a moment. "Okay, new plan. We sneak in through the service entrance." 5 minutes later, they were crouched behind a dumpster wearing sunglasses and hoodies like two extremely unskilled spies. "I never thought Valentine's Week would lead to dumpster espionage," muttered Oliver. "Love takes many forms," Mia said solemnly. They carefully lifted the chocolate bundle out of the back seat. Unfortunately, gravity and poor towel engineering betrayed them. The chocolate swan's body slid halfway out of the robe and landed with a soft, tragic plop onto the pavement. Both of them froze. "Well," Mia said slowly, "it's now abstract art." Inside the service hallway, they were greeted by Patricia. She looked exactly like Oliver imagined. Tall, composed, wearing a perfectly pressed suit and the expression of someone who alphabetizes her spice rack. She stared at the melted chocolate bundle in Oliver's arms. "Mr. Grant," she said carefully, "what happened?" Oliver panicked. "Global warming?" Patricia blinked slowly. Mia stepped forward heroically. In his defense, he stole it out of love. Patricia turned to her. "That does not improve the situation." They were escorted into a conference room where the hotel manager, the Swiss chocolatier, and two legal-looking individuals waited. The chocolatier, a tiny man with dramatic eyebrows, gasped when he saw the sculpture. "My Swan!" he cried in a thick accent. "She was named Bernadette." Oliver whispered to Mia. "We killed Bernadette." Mia patted his shoulder. "She lived a delicious life." The manager cleared his throat. "Mr. Grant," he said, "why did you take the chocolate display?" Oliver took a deep breath. He glanced at Mia. Then he told the truth. He explained the proposal panic, the wrong chocolate delivery, the desperate attempt to fix Valentine's Week, the fog machine disaster, and the accidental slide tackle theft. The room stayed silent. Finally, the chocolatier sighed dramatically. "In Switzerland," he said, "when love is foolish, chocolate suffers." Oliver nodded solemnly. "That feels wise." After a long discussion, the hotel staff came to a decision. Oliver would not face legal charges under one condition. He had to publicly apologize and participate in the hotel's Chocolate Day charity event later that afternoon. Specifically, he would help distribute chocolate samples while wearing a promotional costume. Oliver blinked in surprise. "What kind of costume?" The manager smiled politely. "The Swan costume." By 2 p.m., Oliver stood in the hotel ballroom wearing a giant white swan suit with an oversized foam beak. Mia sat at a nearby table recording everything while eating free truffles. "You look majestic," she called. "I look like a rejected Disney character," Oliver replied through the costume. Guests walked past him accepting chocolate samples while trying not to laugh. A little kid pointed and shouted, "Mom, the bird is sweating!" Despite everything, Oliver noticed something surprising. People weren't mocking him. They were enjoying it. Couples were laughing, kids were taking photos, someone even thanked him for saving Valentine's Day with comedy. Oliver slowly relaxed. Maybe embarrassment wasn't the worst thing in the world. Maybe love and chocolate were allowed to be messy. As the event wrapped up, Oliver removed the swan head and walked toward Mia. "So," he said, exhausted, "do you think I've officially hit rock bottom?" Mia smiled mysteriously. "Oh no," she said, "you still have to give Lily her actual Chocolate Day surprise tonight." Oliver froze. His eyes widened. "I forgot," he whispered. Mia held a small, perfectly wrapped chocolate box. "Relax," she said smugly. "I saved the good chocolate." Oliver stared at the box like it was a sacred artifact. "You're my hero," he said. "I know," she replied smugly. But as they prepared to leave the ballroom, Oliver noticed the chocolate confession catastrophe. Oliver Grant stood frozen in the middle of the Grand Regency ballroom, half out of a sweaty swan costume, holding a tray of heart-shaped chocolate samples like he was offering peace treaties to strangers. And across the room, Lily Parker stared directly at him, not smiling, not waving, just staring. Mia slowly leaned toward him. "Okay," she whispered, "don't panic." "I am physically incapable of not panicking," Oliver whispered back. Lily began walking toward them. Each step felt like it echoed through Oliver's soul like dramatic movie footsteps in slow motion. Guests laughed and chatted around them, completely unaware that Oliver was experiencing a full emotional power outage. "I'm leaving," Oliver muttered. "You are absolutely not leaving," Mia said, grabbing the back of his swan wing. "I could fake fainting," he suggested. "You're wearing a 6-foot bird costume. You'd look like roadkill." Lily finally reached them. She folded her arms. Oliver attempted a smile that looked like a Wi-Fi signal losing connection. "Hey, Lily," he said. There was a long silence. Mia slowly stepped backward, casually grabbing 2 chocolate cupcakes on her way out like she was evacuating a disaster zone with snacks. Lily tilted her head. "Why are you dressed like a marshmallow pigeon?" Oliver inhaled deeply. "Okay," he said, "before you assume anything, I just want you to know this entire situation is technically romantic." Lily raised one eyebrow. "That sentence alone worries me." Oliver removed the swan head completely and ran a hand through his hair. I was trying to make chocolate day perfect, he began. Lily blinked. By committing pastry-related crimes? Technically confectionery crimes, he corrected nervously. She stared at him. Oliver. I panicked, he admitted. The chocolate delivery got messed up. Then I thought I could fix it. Then there was fog and sliding and… Bernadette the Swan didn't make it. Lily's expression shifted slightly. Bernadette? Long story, Mia yelled from across the room while eating her second cupcake. Lily crossed her arms tighter, but Oliver noticed something. She wasn't angry. She looked like she was trying really hard not to laugh. You went viral, she said, pulling out her phone. My coworkers sent me 3 different videos of you sliding across a marble floor while hugging chocolate like it owed you money. Oliver groaned and covered his face. I cannot believe my legacy is now dessert theft. Lily stared at him for another moment. Then she laughed. Not a polite chuckle, a full, uncontrollable snort laugh that made her bend forward slightly. Oliver blinked in shock. You're laughing? He asked carefully. I tried to stay mad, she admitted, wiping her eyes, but you literally yelled for love and sugar in one of the videos. Oliver froze. I hoped that part was muted. It was not. They moved to a quieter corner of the ballroom. Oliver felt his nerves slowly return, which somehow felt worse than shock. I really wanted Chocolate Day to be special, he said quietly. I know Valentine's Week matters to you, and I thought if I messed it up, it would mean I messed up us. Lily softened. Oliver, she said gently, I don't care about perfect chocolate displays. You don't? No, she said. I care about effort, and you committed a felony-level amount of effort. He smiled slightly. That's probably the nicest thing anyone has ever said about my poor decision-making. Just as the conversation began turning sweet and emotional, a loud voice echoed through the ballroom microphone. Ladies and gentlemen. Both Oliver and Lily turned toward the stage. Patricia stood behind a podium, smiling professionally. As part of our Chocolate Day charity event, we would like to introduce our most memorable volunteer of the day. Oliver's stomach dropped. Oh no, he whispered. And to celebrate his commitment to love, chaos, and melted Swiss artistry, the spotlight swung across the room and landed directly on Oliver. Mia appeared beside him instantly, holding her phone like a proud documentary filmmaker. Smile, she whispered. You're about to emotionally spiral in HD. Patricia continued speaking. Mr. Oliver Grant has agreed to share a short speech about the importance of love, forgiveness, and returning stolen desserts. Guests laughed politely. Oliver stood frozen. Lily nudged him gently. You've got this, she said. I absolutely do not, he replied. Somehow, Oliver found himself walking onto the stage while holding the swan head like a defeated trophy. The microphone squealed slightly as he approached it. He stared at the crowd. Couples, families, children holding chocolate lollipops, hotel staff pretending they weren't invested in the drama, and Lily watching him from the front row. Oliver swallowed. Hi, he began awkwardly. I'm Oliver, and I'd like to officially apologize to Bernadette the Chocolate Swan and the entire nation of Switzerland. The crowd chuckled. Encouraged, he continued. I wanted today to be perfect, because Lily deserves perfect things, but it turns out I am very bad at perfect. More laughter. So instead, I accidentally created chaos, property damage, and what legal professionals call an unforgettable learning experience. Even Patricia smiled slightly. Oliver glanced at Lily again. But here's what I realized, he said. Love isn't about perfect plans. It's about ridiculous effort. And sometimes ridiculous effort looks like stealing chocolate and wearing a bird costume. The crowd clapped lightly. Oliver reached into his jacket pocket. And Lily, I still got you something. Lily's eyes widened slightly. He pulled out the small, carefully wrapped chocolate box Mia had saved earlier. This one is legally purchased, he added quickly. Guests laughed again. Oliver stepped down from the stage and walked toward Lily. He handed her the box. She opened it slowly. Inside sat handmade chocolate truffles shaped like tiny music notes. Her eyes softened immediately. You remembered, she said quietly. Of course, he replied. You said once that music chocolate would be your dream dessert. For a moment, everything felt perfect. Then chaos returned. From behind them, Mia suddenly gasped loudly. Oh no, she whispered. Oliver turned. What now? Mia held her phone, pale. Your speech, she said slowly. It's live streaming. Oliver blinked. That's good? You didn't turn off your mic after your speech. Oliver froze. Why would that be bad? Mia turned the phone toward him. The live stream was exploding with comments, because Oliver and Lily's private conversation after the speech was still being broadcast, specifically the part where Oliver had leaned closer to Lily and whispered, I was going to propose on Valentine's Day, but honestly after today, I think I might need professional supervision first. The ballroom grew slowly quiet. Guests stared at him. Lily blinked at him. You were going to propose? She asked softly. Oliver looked like he wanted to evaporate. I mean, yes, but now it feels like the universe just did a spoiler alert. Lily stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed. Not a small chuckle, a full, uncontrollable laughing abuse that made her bend forward slightly. Oliver blinked in shock. You're laughing? He asked carefully. I tried to stay mad, she admitted, wiping her eyes, but you literally yelled for love and sugar in one of the videos. Oliver froze. I hoped that part was muted. It was not. They moved to a quieter corner of the ballroom. Oliver felt his nerves slowly return, which somehow felt worse than shock. I really wanted Chocolate Day to be special, he said quietly. I know Valentine's Week matters to you, and I thought if I messed it up, it would mean I messed up us. Lily softened. Oliver, she said gently, I don't care about perfect chocolate displays. You don't? No, she said. I care about effort, and you committed a felony-level amount of effort. He smiled slightly. That's probably the nicest thing anyone has ever said about my poor decision-making. Just as the conversation began turning sweet and emotional, a loud voice echoed through the ballroom microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, both Oliver and Lily turned toward the stage. Patricia stood behind a podium, smiling professionally. As part of our Chocolate Day charity event, we would like to introduce our most memorable volunteer of the day. Oliver's stomach dropped. Oh no, he whispered. And to celebrate his commitment to love, chaos, and melted Swiss artistry, the spotlight swung across the room and landed directly on Oliver. Mia appeared beside him instantly, holding her phone like a proud documentary filmmaker. Smile, she whispered. You're about to emotionally spiral in HD. Patricia continued speaking. Mr. Oliver Grant has agreed to share a short speech about the importance of love, forgiveness, and returning stolen desserts. Guests laughed politely. Oliver stood frozen. Lily nudged him gently. You've got this, she said. I absolutely do not.
The sweetest proposal and slightly controlled chaos. 5 days after Chocolate Day, Oliver Grant stood in the middle of his living room, surrounded by whiteboards, sticky notes, chocolate wrappers, and what Mia confidently labeled as romantic evidence of psychological breakdown. Valentine's Day had arrived, and Oliver was determined to prove one thing. He could plan one romantic event without committing dessert-related crimes. Across the room, Mia sat cross-legged on the couch, reviewing Oliver's proposal blueprint like a highly judgmental wedding planner. Okay, she said, flipping through her notes. Let's review. You have live music, custom chocolates, candlelit rooftop setup, projection lights, personalized dessert menu, and no fog machines, Oliver said firmly. Mia nodded proudly. Personal growth. Since the Chocolate Day disaster, Oliver had done everything differently. He hired actual professionals, he triple-checked every order, he banned Carl from any involvement whatsoever. In fact, Oliver had blocked Carl's number, email, and what he suspected was Carl's suspiciously aggressive LinkedIn account. Still, Carl had one final surprise planned. Oliver just didn't know it yet. At 5 p.m., Oliver stood on the rooftop of Lily's favorite jazz cafe in downtown Manhattan. The sunset painted the skyline gold, and string lights hung across the rooftop like tiny glowing constellations. Tables were decorated with small chocolate sculptures shaped like musical instruments, a nod to Lily's love for music. And this time, every single chocolate piece had been professionally temperature-controlled. Oliver paced nervously. The jazz trio behind him quietly tuned their instruments. You okay, man? The pianist asked. Yes, I feel emotionally stable and completely normal. You just rearranged those napkins 4 times, the pianist said. They were judging me. Downstairs, Mia arrived with Lily. Lily wore a deep burgundy dress that made Oliver momentarily forget how breathing worked. Oh, wow, Mia whispered dramatically. You're about to emotionally destroy him. That's not my goal, Lily laughed. It will happen anyway, Mia said confidently. When Lily stepped onto the rooftop, she stopped. Her eyes widened as she took in the glowing lights, the skyline, the music, and the elegant chocolate decorations. Oliver, she whispered. Oliver stepped forward, suddenly forgetting his entire speech. Hi, he said. Hi, she replied softly. Mia quietly slipped away, whispering to the band, cue emotional manipulation music. They sat at the candlelit table while the jazz trio played soft background melodies. A waiter brought a custom dessert menu titled A Symphony of Chocolate, inspired by Lily Parker. Lily laughed, shaking her head. You remembered every tiny detail. I remember everything about you, Oliver said honestly. She smiled warmly, and for the first time in a week, everything was going perfectly. Halfway through dessert, Oliver's nerves returned. His heart pounded like a drummer who drank too much espresso. He reached into his jacket pocket. This was it. He stood slowly. Lily, he began. The band gently shifted into a romantic melody. Guests at nearby tables noticed and subtly turned their attention towards them. I know Valentine's week has been chaotic, Oliver said. Chaotic is a generous word, Lily teased. He laughed nervously. But through all the disasters, I realized something. He stepped closer. I don't want perfect moments with you. I want messy, ridiculous, unforgettable moments with you, because those are the moments where I feel happiest. Lily's eyes shimmered. Oliver took a breath. Then he dropped to one knee. Gasps echoed across the rooftop. He opened the ring box. Inside sat a delicate ring shaped like intertwined musical notes. Lily Parker, he said, voice shaking slightly. Will you marry me? For one beautiful, silent moment, everything felt still. Lily covered her mouth, tears forming in her eyes. Yes, she whispered. Oliver blinked. Yes? He asked. Yes, she laughed, pulling him into a hug. The rooftop erupted in applause. The jazz band played a celebratory flourish. Oliver slipped the ring onto her finger while grinning like he just survived emotional skydiving. And then chaos tried to return. Suddenly, the rooftop lights flickered. Oliver froze. No, he whispered. A loud mechanical humming sound echoed from the corner of the rooftop. Mia's eyes widened. Why is there a machine turning on? She whispered. From behind the rooftop bar, a fog machine activated. Thick white mist slowly rolled across the floor. Oliver's soul visibly left his body. Carl! Oliver screamed. A spotlight clicked on, and from behind the fog machine, Carl stepped out wearing sunglasses and holding 2 champagne glasses. Relax, Carl said casually. This one is romantic fog. Oliver ran toward him like an emotionally unstable tornado. How did you even get here? I'm friends with the DJ, Carl shrugged. There is no DJ. I'm adaptable, Carl replied proudly. Before Oliver could commit mild assault with a dessert fork, Lily burst out laughing. Real, uncontrollable laughter. She held Oliver's arm, pulling him back. Stop, she said, wiping tears from her eyes. This is perfect. Oliver blinked. Perfect? He asked. Yes, she said, because this is us, romance and chaos, and your extremely questionable friends. Carl raised his champagne glass proudly. I prefer the term event enhancer. Mia joined them, already recording. This is going viral, she announced happily. The fog slowly faded as the rooftop lights glowed warmly again. Guests toasted, the jazz band played upbeat music. Someone started handing out celebratory chocolate-covered strawberries. Oliver turned to Lily, still slightly traumatized. You're really okay with all this? He asked. She smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. I wouldn't want our love story any other way, she said softly. He kissed her forehead. Good, he replied, because honestly, calm is not my brand. Later that night, the 4 of them sat around a rooftop table laughing and sharing dessert. Carl raised a toast. To love, he said. To chocolate, Mia added. To Bernadette the Swan, Oliver said solemnly. They all raised their glasses. And to never stealing chocolate again, Lily said. Oliver nodded proudly. Unless it's discounted, he added. Lily smacked Oliver's arm playfully. As fireworks unexpectedly lit up the skyline, which Oliver swore he did not plan, he wrapped his arm around Lily. Happy Valentine's Day, he whispered. Happy Valentine's Day, she replied. Mia snapped a photo of them laughing under the fireworks, chocolate smudges still on Oliver's sleeve from earlier dessert disasters. Carl photobombed in the background doing jazz hands. And somehow, it was the most perfect, imperfect Valentine's moment imaginable.